faith. This is the way. Truth is, I am Iron Man.
Tells me when you're tremendous.
Hello, critics, non-critics, and friends. Welcome to the Film Optics Podcast, where we take a glance into blockbusters, indie films, and everything in between. I'm your host, Christian, and as always, I'm joined by my partner in film, Devin. And today, we're here to give our thoughts and opinions on Emerald Fennell's latest film, Saltburn. But before we begin today's episode, you can listen to our podcast on podcast platforms around the internet. That includes Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and more. And if you are a new or seasoned listener to the show, we would love to hear from you guys. Follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Threads at Film Optics. That is optics with an X. Or you can email us at filmoptics@gmail.com for any movie-related questions. Devin, it is a Thursday. It's been a long, long day. How's your day been altogether?
Yeah, I'd have to agree with that. Been a bit of a long day over here as well.
I think it's finally the thing, or the post Thanksgiving.
Yeah, that first week back.
Yeah. Well, earlier this week it was going by fine, but for whatever reason today just was dragging on, and I was like, I just wanted to like shut down halfway through the day, but I couldn't because you got to work. You got to work through the boring bits of the day. But yeah, it's been a pretty good day. Just a little sluggish. Hopefully tomorrow will be a little bit better considering it is a Friday. And yeah, we're kind of like in the thick of award season right now. And there's a lot of things coming out. There's that Freaky Friday. It's not a Freaky Friday movie, but it's like the same premise, but like everyone in the family switches bodies. I think it's a Christmas movie. I think it comes out like today, either today or tomorrow on December 1st. But do you know which movie I'm talking about?
They called like The Switch Up or something.
Yeah, it's called, let me see. Family Switch is.
Yeah, I knew it was something Switch.
Oh, Ed Helms is in it too.
Jennifer Gardner.
And Jennifer Gardner as well. And the werewolf girl from Wednesday. So that I'll probably give that a watch. Oh, it comes out today. So November 30th, which is today.
It looks like it's on Netflix. Oh, it's directed by Mick G, who did the Babysitter movies. And you just recently watched that as well.
Yeah. So I watched, the first one because you had told me to check it out like a while ago. I didn't know there was a second one. And I was like, oh, well, let me watch that. And I did. And it was okay. Not as good as the first, but it had its good moments. Especially the parents were probably some of the best parts of that film for me. It was the skunkweed dad or whatever. Like they kept making the joke that, like he has his baby and there's his other baby, like his child, like his daughter, but then there's this other child, which is like his car. But they kept making that same joke over and over. I'm like, it works like maybe the first time. It's like, okay, he's joking about the car. But then they kept rolling with it. And I was like, is this going to stop? Because, like, we already know which, child he's referring to. And they kept trying to see, it's like they kept trying to throw us like a red herring. Like, no, he's actually talking about his daughter this time. Oh, JK, he's talking about his car. But it was nice to see Jenna Ortega in that as well. But it was pretty cool overall. Like, I had a good time with it. It was nice to see the returning cast, and it has its nice little heartfelt moments, and it's surprising moments as well. So it was pretty cool. Definitely, hopefully he'll be able to finish his trilogy altogether. But enough chitter chatter, Devin. Today we're here to talk about Saltburn.
I was gonna say we've been on, or at least I've been on a bit of a Netflix tear recently. A lot of stuff dropped on Netflix.
What have you been watching on Netflix recently?
Well, obviously we watched No Hard Feelings. That was a good one. And then I've been watching Blue Eye Samurai, which has been very good as well. I'm almost done with that. I also watched the Squid Game show, which it's very dumb, but it's surprising how well made it is. Like like all the sets and all the places that they have the game show are like exactly from the show. Like it's kind of weird how accurate it is, which makes sense. But the actual drama and like the show, it's just not that good. Like it's just not that interesting. They're really trying to force interesting things out of it.
It's not like Kardashians or Jersey Shore drama or anything like that.
They keep trying to manufacture drama, and it's just not there.
Yeah, like there's that what you watch that reality show on Netflix as well, don't you? I forgot
Love is Blind.
Love is Blind. There's some drama in there. Like I feel like that's more organic. Would you say that's more organic than what's happening in that Squid Game show?
Oh yeah.
I gotta catch up. I still have to finish Scott Pilgrim, as I mentioned in one of our previous episodes.
Yeah, of course, finished that one up. My sister and I actually watched Leo as well. It was actually pretty decent.
Oh, okay.
The Sandman, back on his Netflix train.
Oh yeah.
I know. He does a funny voice.
I like Adam Sandler. I just don't like Adam Sandler and whatever the heck that movie was, Uncut Gems.
Oh, the best he's ever been. Oh, okay.
I mean, best performance? Sure. It was his best performance because he doesn't really get a lot of chances to do things like that. But I'm not super crazy about that movie. I like his performance. I do like his performance in that movie. But it was, like I said, what was it, Christmas 2019? I saw two movies that day. One filled me with hope and love and tears, and the other one was filled with resentment. I'm so happy I saw Little Women first. But that is neither here nor there. But I'm glad that you are enjoying all of the wonderful film and television that is on Netflix. I definitely need to catch up in that department. I've been jumping all around. Actually, I have been watching something on Netflix. It's not a Netflix original, but it is just, like a third party show that Netflix has a license to. It's called Lopez versus Lopez. Did I tell you this already?
I don't think so.
So Lopez versus Lopez is a sitcom with George Lopez and his daughter, Mayan Lopez. And the dynamic is that George, who, I'm pretty sure he just plays himself. Essentially, he just plays himself. Kind of like a deadbeat dad, wasn't like in his daughter's life for like 10 years. Now he lives with his daughter and, all the hijinks and shenanigans that come with a sitcom. But it's actually really funny, at least to me, because like sitcoms are like
we love George Lopez, of course.
Yeah, of course. He was in Blue Beetle earlier this year as well. So it's like it's nice to see George Lopez kind of back in his elements. But yeah, it's actually pretty funny. I think it's NBC licensed it out to Netflix, and there's an episode where most of the original cast from the George Lopez show come back. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. Like it was a nice little surprise, but it was only for like one episode. They're not like they show up like towards the end of like an episode. I forgot they're like distant relatives or like neighbors or something. But yeah, it was pretty cool. It's called Lopez versus Lopez. Definitely check it out if you haven't. If you're looking for just something funny and goofy to watch, it's a good time. But enough chatter, Devin, because this is turning into a Netflix podcast. What's this very well could be?
And I almost said Brightburn. Saltburn is an Amazon property.
I know we're not giving Amazon its amount of justice, but
I mean we had Invisible and The Boys. Like Amazon's been on fire lately. They're good.
They really have. And I actually need to watch The Wheel of Time season 2. That's another thing I need to watch. That's on Amazon. And I also wanted to watch Peripheral. I think that's on Amazon as well with Chloe Grace Moretz, because I love her as an actor. And yeah, even the show got canceled, but I still want to watch it. But that's neither here nor there. As we kind of wind down on our housekeeping, our pre-talk here, as we mentioned, we're going to be giving our spoiler-free thoughts on Saltburn, which is now available to watch in theaters. I do not know when it comes to Amazon.
I'm seeing estimated February or May. February MGM Plus, May Prime Video.
Oh, okay. MGM Plus.
Because it's Amazon MGM Studios.
Right. Yeah, so that's around maybe 13.
I forgot MGM
weeks.
Plus existed, and I don't think anyone knows it exists.
I only know that they exist because I get screeners sent to me through them, but that's about it. But yeah, it looks like it's going to be in theaters for a while before hitting Amazon Prime for, I would say, about good, like maybe 10 to 13 weeks. So when it does, definitely watch it if you want to watch it at home. But if you are a moviegoer like Devin and I, definitely catch it in the theater. There's a lot of crazy talent in this film, and we're going to talk about to see if it stacks up. If it
and I imagine there'd be some pretty crazy reactions in a theater too on some scenes.
Oh, absolutely. Like 100%. Like that is yeah.
It's another one we had the pleasure of watching on my couch because we got a screener sent. Would have been nice to see it in the theater though.
Yeah, that was a funny story in and of itself because we originally came over to your place.
We were about to leave.
Yeah, because we just finished the holdovers. And like literally as soon as we were about to leave to go to the theater to see Saltburn, I got an email for your consideration screener. And I was like, you're not going to believe what just hit my inbox. And it was Saltburn. And we're like, you know what? Let's just cancel those tickets. We don't have to rush, go anywhere. So we just plop back on your couch and watch it at your place. So that was a nice little movie day, a double feature of the holdovers and Saltburn.
Very, very different movies, but both very entertaining.
Yeah, very entertaining for sure on both ends. So as we mentioned, we're going to dive straight on in without any further delay. So we'll be right back after this introduction to Saltburn.
Oh, it'll be some awful slum. Oh, some sort of hovelish squat.
And both his parents were dealing. God, and his mother's a drunk. I mean, babies can be really affected, traumatized.
Oh, they come out drunk.
Is that right, that he had to put his fingers down his mother's throat to make her sick?
Farley, that's private stuff. Well, you told us in confidence.
His mother's sick. Darling. His mother was sick.
I think that's actually rather normal when you're poor. I think when you're poor, that sort of thing does happen a little bit more. Let's give you a wonderful time.
Good luck. He doesn't smile much.
Farley seems to think he's ghastly. Why are you friends with him?
Dirt poor, not attractive, and his parents are drug addicts. I can't actually understand.
And here he is. No, we were just talking about
Don't be silly. Farley, you just make up the most awful things. Of course we weren't. Hello, Oliver, darling. Oh, what beautiful eyes. Oh, how wonderful.
Yeah, I told you it wasn't a minger.
Oh, but darling, you're kind about everyone. You can't be trusted.
And we are back with our Saltburn review. Again, this is spoiler free for anyone who wants to listen to this. We're just going to have this easy for everyone to listen to because we don't want to, we don't want to give away the surprises, and we want everyone to kind of enjoy this episode as it is without worrying about running into spoilers. Sometimes we do spoilers, but not in this episode. But the director of this film is Emerald Fennell, and the writer of this film as well is Emerald Fennell, and the stars of this film, Barry Keoghan, Jacob Elordi, and Archie Mediqui. And the synopsis is as follows. A student at Oxford University, I don't know why I said it that way, finds himself drawn into the world of a charming aristocrat classmate who invites him to his eccentric family's sprawling estates for a summer never to be forgotten. Very ominous. It's a dramatic comedy thriller of a film. It's crazy. It's got super crazy vibes. And I'm going to pass it over to Devin so he can give his initial reactions to Saltburn.
Yeah, going into this one, I think I had a fair amount of excitement because this is the follow-up to Emerald Fennell's first feature movie, which came out in 2020, Promising Young Woman. It was definitely one of my favorites of that year, so I was very excited to see that she's getting another movie out there. And the trailer for this one, it really just doesn't give you any information as to what this movie is because they just can't really give away too much, which makes sense. But I had no idea what this movie was about going into it. Didn't know what a saltburn was. Didn't know it's apparently the name of the mansion, I guess, the castle that they live in. So you find that out when the movie starts, and you just kind of get drawn to this cast of characters, as well as the obviously director and writer Emerald Fennell and her past work, and just kind of being excited for that because Barry Keoghan and Jacob Elordi have been really at the top of their games for a few years now. And this actually does have some Euphoria vibes, especially with Jacob being in it, obviously. So I'm sure all the Euphoria fans are lining up for this one and have probably already seen it. But as far as the actual movie, it's a very entertaining movie throughout the runtime. It goes places that you would never expect a movie to go. There's a couple of scenes where I think you might have been closing your eyes, trying not to watch because there's just there's a lot happening, and it's bordering on repulsive sometimes. But I definitely don't think it pushes anything too far. Like it's not like revolting or anything, but it's definitely a lot, and I think that's part of the entertainment value for this movie because there's just a lot going on. There's a lot this movie has to say as far as class and just kind of your upbringing and how that kind of can affect your life in ways that you wouldn't expect. And Barry Keoghan's character just kind of integrating himself into this very wealthy family and becoming one of them and kind of just spirals from there without getting too deep into it because this movie does have some definite spoilers that we don't want to give away because the ending of this movie was not expected at all, I would say. I think the ending, it does a bit too much. Like there's a lot happening at the end. It's one of those movies where you're watching it and you think it's over, but then more endings keep happening and you're like, oh, okay, I guess we're still going.
So it's like Babylon.
It's kind of a fault for this one because it's an entertaining ride and then you get to the ending and it's just like, it had me till the ending there. Just a bit too much going on, and the end kind of undoes parts of the movie that you had already watched and makes you think, kind of rethink what actually happened in the movie, which is a good and bad thing.
For sure. As Devin knows, I love my British culture. I love my British actors. I love my British directors. And this movie has all of that.
Is Emerald British? I didn't even know. Okay.
She is, yeah.
Because Promising Young Woman wasn't very British.
No, it was not. And I will say between Saltburn and Promising Young Woman, when it comes to both of them, I definitely prefer Promising Young Woman. But I love the vibes that Saltburn gives off. You know, it is kind of
mention the early 2000s vibes are just like immaculate. The soundtrack in this one, like some of the mic drops, the needle drops are just like on point for like 2007, like middle school vibes.
Well, yeah, 100%. And it's like, as I was saying, you know, I love British culture. I love British actors, directors, the whole thing. So it definitely had me there. Especially with Rosamund Pike is also in this movie. And what the movie, it reminds me of Priscilla in the sense where it's well acted, it's well directed, it's well written up to a point like towards the end, but it feels like it's focusing more on the vibes of what's going on. Like it's produced so freaking well. Like the cinematography in Saltburn is breathtaking. I wish I lived there. I wish I went to those parties and just had a good time because it really just gives you that sense of what Saltburn is as a society, as an estate, because as Devin mentioned earlier, this is kind of like I guess you could say lower versus upper class type of situation where Barry Keoghan is kind of like the outsider coming into this world, learning about, you know, the Saltburn estate, and being almost to a point being infatuated with Jacob's character. I am blanking on Jacob's character's name right now.
Felix.
I knew it was something a little bit odd.
Something strange. It's definitely a cat name.
Yeah, Felix the cat. Yeah. So Felix, played by Jacob Elordi, he does a great job. I absolutely love him as a character. Like Devin said, it's like you took Euphoria and just put it in the university, like the college setting, and just
in the UK.
And yeah, in the UK, it's almost like Skins, like the UK version of Skins. I'm not sure if you've seen it, but it's freaking wild. What's up?
I've never watched it.
It is freaking wild, my dude. Like, it is insane. But to go back to what I was saying, I liked everything that was, you know, the relationship between Barry's character and Jacob's character. How, in a way, you can kind of say that Barry was infatuated with Felix, Jacob's character. And you kind of start to see that unfold. But there's a lot of jealousy there, and it kind of has the Favorites vibes as well, where you have Archie coming into the mix. And I believe he was also in oh my gosh, he was in Midsummer. That's right. He was in Midsummer.
And Gran Turismo. You mentioned that when we first started.
And Beau Afraid, your favorite movie
I
of 2023.
did not remember him in that one, but I'm trying to block out that movie as much as possible.
But yeah, it kind of came to the point where, you know, Archie's character and Barry's character were kind of fighting for the attention of Jacob's character, Felix. So it definitely has, like when I said The Favorite with Emma Stone and Rachel Weisz and Olivia Colman, it definitely gave off that vibe. But I agree, like, as the movie went on, like, I was feeling it, like, I was having a good time. But then, yeah, there's a lot of scenes where they really just, not even dial it up to like 11, they dial it up to like 15. So it was a little bit hard to watch at first.
I would not watch this with family, I'll say that much.
No, I would not. Like, if you're going to watch
Do not turn this on with your parents in the room.
Don't go to the theater and watch this with your parents either.
Yeah, there's nowhere to hide if you do that.
Yeah. Like, unless you've seen it before and you're like, I'm going to go use the bathroom, like during convenient times. But yeah, I would say the ending is where it really lost me, because there's just so much going on. And it was kind of hard to keep up. And the movie doesn't necessarily tell you what's happening throughout the film. It's kind of just, it just takes you on an adventure. There's no real agenda. Things just start happening out of nowhere. And it gets pretty wild. It's very graphic at times, which is not something that we usually are squeamish about. And the scenes that I'm referencing, they weren't necessarily graphic. They were just completely out of left field. And I was like, okay, what is happening here? But, you know, it has the sinful nature of Euphoria and of The Favorites. And, you know, this place kind of starts to bring the worst out of people. And it's something. It's something. You
it's like lost. The opposite of a fairy tale.
Yeah, I can't even call it like a nightmare. It's more like a euphoric dream, or like it's like Barry's character, you know, he goes to Saltburn during the summer in university to like this gothic thriller Twilight Zone. But it's not like, it has thriller-esque moments, but it's not like scary. But it's something.
Just like the tagline on the poster says, we're all about to lose our minds. It pretty much sums it up.
Yeah, for sure. It gave me a little bit of the Project X vibes as well.
That's a throwback.
Hey, that was a great
I bet they have similar soundtracks.
They do. But ooh, man, that soundtrack hits like every single time. But I would like to hear the soundtrack for Saltburn altogether, because there was definitely some 2007, 2006 bangers in there for sure. So I'll pass it back over to you. Sorry, I kind of hijacked the mic there for a bit. Was there anything else you would like to bring up that we haven't had a chance to talk about in our spoiler-free review?
Yeah, definitely a movie that's based a lot on vibes, like you mentioned. Like, it's a very vibey movie because it's just the whole setup and the whole aesthetic of everything is just reliant on vibes more so than anything, and that can be at a sacrifice to the story at points, which definitely becomes an issue towards the end, where you kind of, at the very end, you kind of get explained what was happening the whole time, and it doesn't really, it's not completely satisfying like you would expect it to be when it's such a twist. I found it interesting that I was looking at that trivia that Rosamund Pike lived in the Saltburn house while they were filming. Just really? Seems pretty fitting for that character.
It does. And her character was fantastic. Like, everyone brings their A game when it comes to this movie. And it is shot in like the 4:3 aspect ratio. Not my favorite ratio for films nowadays. Like, I understand it is like a artistic and director's choice, but just give me like the full widescreen. But that's a complete, like, the smallest nitpick ever. Also, so Barry's name in the film is called Oliver Quick, and then we have Felix Catton, played by Jacob Elordi, and then Archie Mediqui. It's Farley Start. That was a very odd name to give someone. Is Farley? It's very strange. I think more strange than Felix. I don't know anyone named Felix, but
I kind of like it though.
Do you?
Yeah, good old Felix.
Oh yeah. No, Felix. I do. I thought you were talking about Farley.
I never understood what I think they were calling him Farley throughout. I don't know.
I think Farley. Yeah. And that was one thing with his character. It got a little bit messy because we didn't know where the movie was taking us, and that's fine because
we also didn't know who he was until like halfway through the movie.
That too. Yeah. So it was kind of like bringing up a lot of people, even with Carey Mulligan. She is also in this film.
Yeah, I was gonna say, shout out to her, star of Promising Young Women. Has definitely a smaller role in this one, but
yeah,
got the role nonetheless.
Yeah, definitely. So that was that. Yeah, she's there. She doesn't have too much to do, but it's just always nice to see her because she's worked with Emerald before. But yeah, like I said, when it comes to this movie, more so vibe. I would say more so vibes than the story. I mean, the story is pretty simple, but it's like you don't really know what's going on until like maybe halfway through the film, and then you get introduced to certain characters like Farley, and it's like it can be a bit wonky at times, but it is a great ride. Just the ending. A lot of stuff happens, and you're like, wait, what is happening? But it's a great ride altogether. I think people should watch it in theaters if they can, because now I'm kind of like, man, I kind of want to watch this in theaters again. But let's get into our final thoughts and our ratings for this film. Devin, what are your final thoughts and ratings for Saltburn?
Yeah, final thoughts. Definitely a wild ride throughout the runtime. Very entertaining. Entertained throughout. Definitely was not expecting the ending, which is always nice, but at the same time, it wasn't exactly as satisfying as I would have hoped, even though it was quite a bit of a twist, without giving anything away. But the ending is kind of what throws off the rest of the movie here, where there's a lot going on, and there's like a few different endings, it feels like, and it also kind of undoes a lot of the beginning of the movie, where you're just kind of questioning different characters and their motives, and it just makes you rethink things. And I think that does work sometimes, but here it just wasn't perfectly executed. although I do appreciate the attempt here. And I would say, as far as like score goes, I'd probably go with like a 77 overall. Like I said, it's very entertaining throughout. Definitely vibes over story, which is obviously a choice you can make, and I think it works for the most part. But then at the end, it kind of unravels a bit.
I honestly could not agree with you more. I would, quick off the bat, just give this like a 70 out of 100. And yeah, it's just one of those movies where I love the premise. I like, I like what I see, but what I hear, not hear, but once the film starts unraveling towards the end, it just gets a little bit wonky. But I wonder if that warrants a rewatch. Does this movie have rewatchability, given the ending, so you can kind of go back and rewatch it at least for a second time to see if those story beats were as obvious as we may not have thought during our first watch. But overall, I did enjoy it. Definitely not like I'm not like super crazy about it, but I do love my British actors, my British writers, directors. They get it done. It was a fun ride, and it was filled with amazing talent, production design, writing, acting, and yeah, it's just the ending kind of just it leaves me a little bit more desired altogether. But that's why I kind of just gave it a 70. It's definitely one of the most original movies that we've seen this year. Like we said, do not watch this with your parents if you are, very conscious about
yeah,
sexual.
Did you toss this one on for your mom after holdovers? Did you do that?
No.
back to back again.
Nope. I turned on, I forgot what I turned on. I think I turned on Scott Pilgrim, the TV show, because she just wanted to watch the holdovers because, like I said, she loves Paul Giamatti. So yeah, she would not like this.
It kind of worked as a 1-2 punch because they're just so different as movies. Mm-hmm. And they're actually the same exact like length almost, which was weird.
See, yeah, and that's the thing. I felt like this movie took longer. I think the pacing was just a little bit more slower for me than the holdovers, which is funny because given what the holdovers is, they're literally like waiting for, the holiday break to be over. But so much happens. So much happens in both movies. But it's like, for whatever reason, I felt like Saltburn felt like a 2.5 hour long movie to me versus a 2 hour and like 10-minute movie. I don't know why, but it is what it is, But a score-wise, like I said, I gave it a 70 out of 100. Devin gave it a 77 out of 100. So the median score between both of ours, which is going to be the official podcast score for Saltburn, is going to be a 73.5 out of 100 is what we're going to be giving Saltburn. This is what Rotten Tomatoes probably should do, because there's too much critics versus audience, and there's no meeting in the middle on certain things. But with all that said, that does conclude today's episode of Saltburn. If you enjoy what you heard, make sure to subscribe to our podcast on your preferred podcast platform of choice, and make sure to follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Threads at Film Optics. That is Optics with an X. And don't forget to share an episode of our podcast with a fellow movie lover, whether it be your mother, your brother, or a significant other. Spread the love for the Film Optics podcast with a movie lover in need. Now, let's take a sneak peek at what's coming up next on the show. So, what you can look forward to for us covering on the show is Poor Things. We're going to be covering that within the next week or two. As well as, I believe we're going to be doing Godzilla -1, possibly The Boy and the Heron. I don't know. It's going to be pretty interesting altogether. But for new reviews that you can look forward to, for new releases that you can listen to right now, you can listen to The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes review, our Wish review, and our The Marvels review, just to name a few. So with all that said, again, thank you all for listening. If you enjoy the show, please take a moment to leave us a 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and stay connected with us by following us on Twitter, Instagram, Threads, all that social media garbage for the latest updates. That was Devin. I'm Christian, signing off. And remember, life is like a movie, so go out there and make it a blockbuster.
Peace.